All right, welcome back to the nightclub. We're going to go over the first 9 weeks practice exam. If you're doing it at home, you got stuck on a few, maybe I can help guide you through how to do them. Your exam will be multiple choice, so this is exactly how it will look and how it will be formatted. And so let's get started. All right, number one says use the domain and range of each of the following relations to determine which is a function. So we're trying to figure out which one's a function. Remember, to be a function, x can't repeat and go to a different y. So here we got -8 goes to 0, and 0 goes to -8, and -4 goes to -4. So that one is a function. Starts off, A is correct. Okay, C is not correct because they're not ordered pairs. B is not correct because you have 6 going to -4, and then you have 6 going to -8. It can't go to two different things, so it can't be B. And then D, same thing. You got -8 going to 0, and then -8 goes to -4. That cannot be a function. Okay. Number 2 says determine the domain of the function h of x equals 5x over x times x squared minus 9. This is basically, you're just trying to figure out what x cannot be. Remember, find the domain is saying what x can be, but it also can be saying what x cannot be. So we cannot divide by 0. So which of these answers down here would give you 0 in the denominator? So obviously this one can't be 0, and x squared minus 9, that could not be 3 or -3, because -3 squared is also 9, minus 9 would give me 0, so that will be choice B right here, would be correct. Okay, moving on, number 3. I'm going to scroll up. It is asking which one is a function, which of the graphs, and remember, to be a function on a graph, it needs to pass the vertical line test. So I'm trying to get all of the graphs to show at the same time, and it's not cooperating. There we go. Stop. Close enough. All right. So I'm going to draw me a vertical line and move it around. Let's see if I draw that vertical line, and then I grab it and move it, and we say, well, there you go. It won't let me. I thought it wouldn't let me grab it, but it's letting me grab it. All right. So you can only touch the graph in one spot, no matter where you put it. So A looks good. B would not be correct because of those 2 points right there. They're right on top of each other, so it would be touching 2 times. Down here, anywhere in between these here and here, it's touching 3 times, so that would be not a function. And this one, it's touching a lot of times, so it's not going to be a function. So my answer will be A. That one is the function. Okay. Moving on to the next page. Oops. Number 4. Same process. However, on this one, we have to find the domain and range and tell whether it's a function or not. So thankfully, it's multiple choice, so we can use our answers. Obviously, it's not a function. I know that's not a vertical line, but let me try it again. That's a little better. It's not a function because it touches more than once. Okay, so we can get rid of A because it says it is a function, and we can get rid of B because it also says it is a function. So we're down to C and D. So we need to figure out what is our domain. Well, let's see. The domain is what can X be, all right? And it says from, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, from -8 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to +8. It goes from -8 to +8. I'll be honest, now that I'm looking at this question, I don't like it. I don't like it. C is going to be the answer, but that's not correct because these little arrows right here that's connected to the graph, okay, those arrows mean that it continues. Now, I don't know that it continues in this pattern, so it's possible that it could continue and keep going forever. Now, it does go forever up and forever down, so that's all real numbers is the range. I have no problem with that, but I do have a problem with the domain. So on the actual exam, I'm going to have to examine that problem a little closer because I don't really agree. I think it should be all real numbers for both of them. The way it's written. Let me erase some of these problems here, these marks. Just because it has the arrows on the ends, and the arrows tell you, if you have an arrow, it tells you that it's going to continue to go in that direction. So it stands to reason it continues to go in this direction forever, which means all real numbers for X and Y as well. So anyway, we'll talk about that one before we take the exam, but I'm not really agreeing with that question. Number 5. F minus g of x. All this means is we take f of x and subtract from it g of x. So what is f of x? 4 minus x squared minus, the most important part is to put parentheses around your g of x, which is 2 minus x. Distribute. You get 4 minus x squared minus 2 plus x. And add your like terms, we're going to have negative x squared plus x plus 2, which is b. Okay? Here, g of f of negative 3, it tells you what this means right here. Okay? This just means we're going to find f of negative 3 first, and then plug that answer in for g. Okay? So f of negative 3 would equal, here's f of x right here. So we're going to put negative 3 squared plus 8 would be 17. And now we're going to take that answer and plug it in for g. So g of 17 would be 17 plus 6 over 17. That's 23 over 17, which is an ugly answer, but it's my answer for that, for number 6. Number 7, determine whether the graphs of the pair of equations are parallel, perpendicular, coincident, or coincident, I'm not really sure how you say that word, or none of these. So I need, first off, make sure they're both solved for y. This second one is not. It has negative y, so I need to divide everything by negative 1. So that will be y equals negative 7x minus 42. And now, since the slopes are equal, but the y-intercepts are different, that means these lines are parallel, okay? If the slopes were the same and the y-intercepts were the same, it would have been coincident. If the slopes are opposite reciprocals, it would have been perpendicular. And if the slopes are just different, they're not necessarily opposite reciprocals, it would have been none of these, okay? Number 8. Find an equation of a line perpendicular to the graph of 32x minus 8y equals 4 that passes through the point at 0, negative 6. Okay, so I can narrow it. I can get rid of one of my answers here because it crosses through 0, negative 6. Well, that's my y-intercept. So my y-intercept has to be negative 6. So that means I can get rid of b because its y-intercept is positive 6. To get the slope, I need to solve this equation for y. So I'm going to come over here, 32, try that again. 32x minus 8y equals 4. If I subtract 32x over, I get negative 8y equals negative 32x plus 4. And then we divide by -8, divide by -8, divide by -8. I don't really care what this is. I only care about the slope. So that is 4x. So the question says perpendicular. So if 4 is my slope, I need -1/4 to be the slope of my equation. So that leaves me with choice D. Okay? Choice D, because it's the only one that has -1/4 for the slope and -6 for the y-intercept. If a graphing calculator, number 9, gives a Pearson product moment correlation value R of -0.987 for a set of data, what does the value tell you about the relationship between the data? Okay, so first off, the negative tells you it's negative. So I can get rid of the ones that say positive, which there's only one, okay? Now, the closer it is to -1, the stronger it is. -0.987 is extremely close to -1. So it is a strong negative correlation. It wouldn't be moderately negative and it wouldn't be weak negative, okay? It has to be strong negative. Number 10, more of the same type of question. Oops. 10, it says if a graphing calculator gives the Pearson product moment correlation value of 0.945, again, it's a positive and it's very close to 1. So that is a strong positive correlation, which would be C. Okay? Number 11. Use a graphing calculator to determine which equations for the line of regression Pearson product moment correlation value are, and predicted value match the data in the chart. The chart below shows the age of a computer and its current value. All right, so we're going to have to use our calculator on these. Remember, when you're putting this in the calculator, leave this column off, okay? So we're going to put it in our calculator. Go to stat. Let me get that circle off. We're going to go to stat. Let me find it. Here we go. Stat, edit, and L1 is the first column, or first row, and L2 is the second row. So L1 is the age. They went from 1 to 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Then for the second column, that is the value. So 2100, 1700, 1250, 1000, 500, 400, 200, and 100. Take your time plugging them in your calculator, because as long as you plug them in correct, you should get the correct answer, okay? Now, to get our equation and our R, we're going to go back to stat and go over to calc and go down to lin reg. That's linear regression, okay? Hit enter until it gets to calculate, and there is your equation. So y equals A is -292.26x to 92.26x plus B is 2221.43. Okay, here is my R. R is -0.9778. And we're going to go and figure out what is the closest to these on our answers here. So let's go back to our equation or our question. Here we go. So we had -292x plus 221. Negative. All right. So this one's a choice. All right. I'm not sure if it is the choice, but it is the choice so far. Okay, this one would be a no. This is wrong. This one is a no because this is wrong, and this one is also going to be a no because that one's wrong. Okay, R was also wrong on this one. So it has to be A just by process of elimination. If you want to predict the value at H9, you can plug in 9 to this equation. So negative 292 times 9 plus 2,221. And if you put that in your calculator, you should get, it says negative 407. So let's see if that's true. Let me erase some of this. You can see the screen. It's not ready. Erasing. There we go. Okay. So come over here. Clear. We're going to say negative 292 times 9 plus 2221. Negative 407 is correct. Okay. So it had to be A. Had to be A. All right. Number 12. Move it on up. It says determine which of these graphs is the graph of the given function. So we talked about this yesterday. You can put this in your calculator. So I'm going to go to my calculator, and you're going to go to y equals, and clear anything out that you might have there. And it says 3x plus 2. And remember to put the restrictions on there. You're going to use the dividing sign, and then parentheses, you're going to put the restrictions. So you say x. To get to the less thans, you go to second math, and you go to number 5 is less than, and we're doing less than 5. Close your parentheses. On the bottom, we're going to have negative 3x minus 2. Again, put your divide sign, and in parentheses, put x is greater, second math, greater than or equal to, which is number 4, 5. And then hit graph. As you can see, I'm only seeing one line, so on this one I need to zoom out just a little bit. So go to zoom and hit number 3 and enter, and there we go. Okay, so that's how it's supposed to look. All right, and remember, you're going to have to pick which one needs an open circle and which one needs a closed circle. So in this case, the one that needs an open circle is the top one, the one that says 3x plus 2 if x is less than 5. So this would have an open circle up here, and since the other one was greater than or equal to 5, it's going to have a closed circle to start its graph. Okay, so let's go find the one that looks like that on my choices. Let's see here. Well, I know it's not A. Trying to block it out. I know it's not C. Here's my two choices. These two seem, B, these seem a lot closer than they should be. Again, if you go back and look at your calculator, these are way far apart. Okay, this one's way up there. This one's way up here. This one's way down here. So my answer is, I can get to it, D. Okay. I almost said any questions, like you could ask me a question. I hope you don't have any questions. All right. Number 13. Graph the function defined by f of x equals negative x plus 4. Okay, so again, I'm just going to go to my calculator, go to y equals, clear those out, and type in that function. Absolute value, you hit second 0, enter to bring up an absolute value, and then you type in negative x plus 4, and you hit graph. I'm going to zoom in just to put it on the standard. All right, and so it's just a V that vertex is at 4, 0, looks like. So let's go find on our choices one that has a vertex at 4, 0. So it's not B. Looks like A is my answer right here. This one's vertex is at 2, so that one's not right. And this one's not even a V. So there you go. That's all you have to do. Moving on. 14, solve the system of equations. This is the one where you can also use your calculator. It's the quickest and easiest way. So I'm going to make a matrix equation. Okay. So you put your coefficients as one matrix. Okay, so that would be 4, negative 2, and 2, 6, 3, and negative 2, and negative 4, negative 1, and negative 2. And you do the inverse of that matrix times your answer, the constant matrix, 10, 53, and negative 19. And that's what you're going to put in your calculator. Okay, so let's go to my calculator. I think I put it where I can see it and not get in the way, so we're going to clear that out. To bring up your matrix, you hit alpha zoom, and the first matrix is a 3 by 3, and you type in your numbers. Remember, don't hit enter. Use the arrow button to go to the next number. So 4, arrow, negative 2, arrow, 2, arrow, 6, arrow, 3, arrow, negative 2, arrow, negative 4, arrow, negative 1, arrow, and negative 2, arrow. And then to make it an inverse, you hit the x to the negative 1 button right there. Oops, I did it twice by mistake. Sorry about that. Go back. Let me delete that. Let me delete it. There we go. And then times your other matrix, again, hit alpha zoom. Your other matrix is a 3 by 1. So I need to come up here and change the size of it to a 3 by 1 matrix. And then type in my answers, which were 10. Almost hit enter. Don't hit enter. Use the arrow. If you hit enter, it's going to go ahead and calculate it for you. And then negative 19. Now hit enter. There are your answers. X, Y, Z. 6, 3, negative 4. So I go back to my test. 6, 3, negative 4 is C. Boom. Ta-da. Okay. And if you forget all that, you can always, it takes a while, but you can always plug in X, Y, and Z into these and see which one of them works. If you do it that way, though, make sure it works for all 3 equations. Don't just plug it into one and think that is your answer. Okay? 15. We are subtracting A minus B. So we can put this in our calculator as well. However, it's quicker just to do this because all you're doing is subtracting the parts. Okay? So negative 3 minus 9. So what I like to do is go in and basically just change all the signs. So if I'm doing 3 and 9, negative 3 and 9 right here, I'm doing A minus B. So I'm just going to make all of these minus. I'm going to change that to a plus and change all these signs is basically what I'm doing. Plus, plus, minus. And now I'm just adding them up. Okay? So, -3 and -9 make -12. So, it can't be at B, it can't be D. Okay, remember, I want you to take this like you're doing the ACT, so the quickest way you can. Okay, so these are out because they didn't give -12 there. Okay, so it's either A or C. So now I'm going to look and see where is A and C different, because otherwise you're wasting time. See, they're the same here, they're the same here, same here, same here. They have everything. Okay, there's one that's different. So let's figure out what those are. Okay, so that would be this one. 6 plus 3 is 9. So here's the one with 9. This has to be my answer. That's got to be wrong. Okay, and that way you don't have to do the entire answers. Okay, the entire problem. Just use the answers to figure out which ones they can't be, and then you'll know which one it has to be. All right. 16, we are multiplying. Multiplying. That's a booger. That's a lot to do. Okay. I'm going to show you both ways. 4, 3, 5, -2, 1, -4, and 5, -4, 3. That's B. Times A, which is -4, 5, -3, 1, 2, -1, and -3, 2, -5. So if you've forgotten how to do multiplication, matrix multiplication, you have to multiply row by column. Okay? And so what that will be is you're going to say 4 times -4 plus 3 times 1 plus 5 times -3. And if you add that up, that's -16 plus 3 minus 15, which would be, let's see here, -31 plus 3 is -28. Is that right? And so if you just do that first step, you'll see that C's got to be your answer because it's the only one that has -28 there. Okay? What you don't do is say -4 times 4 and get -16. Notice, they're wanting you to pick that answer bad. Okay? 5 times 3 is 15. -3 times 5 is -15. So this D, it's your trap. Okay? That is not how you multiply matrices. You don't just multiply the parts. Okay? So I just did the first one and was able to get the answer. Again, that's doing it without the calculator. You can do it with the calculator. So let me show you that way as well. So we're just going to plug in those matrices just like they were in the problem. You don't have to put times or anything. You basically just have to plug them in, but make sure you do B first, then times A. Okay, so alpha zoom brings up our matrix, so I need to change that to a 3 by 3. Hit enter, and then scroll down and hit OK. And then plug in your points. Remember, you have to do B first. If you do A first, you're going to get it wrong. So B first would be 4 arrow. Again, don't hit enter. 3 arrow, 5 arrow, and then -2, 1, and -4, and then 5, -4. Oops, something's wrong here. Didn't go over. There we go. -4 and 3. Okay. If you want to put times, you can, but you don't have to. Just tell them you don't have to. The calculator knows what you're doing when you put two matrices by each other. It's okay. I'm not going to change it. A now is what I'm plugging in. -4 arrow, 5 arrow, -3 arrow, and the second row is 1, 2, and -1. And then the third row is -3, arrow, 2, arrow, and -5, arrow. And now you just hit enter, and it gives you the answer. As you can see, -28 is what we got. It's also what they get. Okay, so that answer is C. Okay. All right. On to the next page. 17 says, use matrices to determine the coordinates of the vertices of the reflected figure. Then graph the pre-image and the image on the same coordinate grid. Triangle RST with vertices R is at -1, 8, S is at 7, 3, and T is at 3, -6. Which image shows the reflection of triangle RST over the x-axis? So we are reflecting it over the x-axis. So first, let's figure out which one of these original RSTs are correct. And it looks like they all are. It looks like they're all the same. The original RST, which is here. It's not letting me. There we go. RST is the same spot there, 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 and there. There, and there, and there, and there. So the original RST is in the correct spot. We got to figure out which one of them flip it over the x-axis. Okay? X-axis, right? X-axis. So the x-axis is this one right here. X, 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 X. And B is not correct. B got flipped over the y-axis. Oh, D is not correct. I'm not really sure what D did. I think D rotated it. C is also not correct. Again, I think C rotated it. A is going to be your correct answer here. Here's the x-axis. Everything just got flipped over the x-axis. R came down here. T moved up here, and S moved down there. Okay, they all got across the x-axis. That's all there is to those. Moving on. 18, find the value of the determinant. That's what this means, determinant, okay? Determinant of that matrix. This is a calculator problem for sure. It's much quicker than doing it the long way. So, it's a lot of problems on this exam. Make sure you finish. You want to do everything as quick as you can, just like on the ACT. So, I go to my calculator. I got to find the determinant button, okay? So, if you forget where it's at, remember, everything is in the catalog. So, you can hit 0 catalog, and you can just scroll down until you see the determinant. DET is what you're looking for, okay? Keep going. All right, we're at the D's. There it is. DET. Boom. There's determinant, okay? Another way of getting there that's a little quicker is you go to your matrix button, which is second and x to the -1, and you scroll over to math, and it's the very first one, DET, okay? Determinant. Now, what is the determinant? It's the determinant of that matrix. So you're going to put in the matrix. It is a 3 by 3. So you have -14. Again, don't hit enter. Use the arrow to go to the next one. -3, arrow, -11, arrow. Second row is 3, arrow 1, arrow 3, arrow. Takes me down to the bottom row, which is 4, arrow, 2, arrow, and 7, arrow. And you can close parentheses if you want to. It's not a big deal if you don't, because you're not putting anything behind it. But you just hit enter, and -9 is your determinant, which would be C. That is all there is to it. Number 19, find the inverse if it exists. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to put this in our calculator and do it to the -1 power. So nice and quick here. I'll go to my calculator again, type in that matrix, alpha zoom. This matrix was a 2 by 2. So I'm going to change my dimensions there. And we type in -5 arrow, -4 arrow, -2 arrow, and -3. And then you just hit the inverse button, which is x to the -1, and you hit enter. Okay. As you can see, your answers are not decimals. Okay, they're all a bunch of fractions. So if you want to change that to fractions, same way you always have, you can just hit math, enter, enter, and it will change them to fractions for you. And you can see that B is your answer. Okay, B. B. Okay. Next page, number 20. Oops. One of the following functions is neither odd nor even. Which one? Remember, to be neither odd or even, you have to have odd exponents and even exponents together. This would be my answer. It has 6. It also has an exponent of 1. B would just be odd, 3 and 1. C would just be even, 6, 4, and 2. And D is also even, 4, 4, and 0. Remember, if it doesn't have a variable, it's to the 0 power. So A would be the one that's neither even or odd. Number 21, moving on. Which statement best describes a method that can be used to sketch the graph of this? So absolute value of x -2. -2 is on the outside, so that means it's going to graph it down 2 units, which is B. Okay. Any questions on that? Hope not. It's pretty simple. Remember, if it's outside, it moves it up and down. If the number is inside the absolute value or parentheses, it moves it left and right. Okay. 22. We have to graph this. Now, I told y'all yesterday, you can kind of process of elimination here. I know, first off, that it's a parabola because there's an x squared, which all of them are parabolas. I also know since it's just greater than, okay, it's going to be a dotted line. Okay, so since it's going to be a dotted line, it can't be C. Okay, can't be C. All right. I also know that since it's negative right here, okay, that it's going to be going down. Okay, and again, it should be a dotted line going down. So that doesn't help me because the rest of them are dotted. However, greater than means I shade above. Okay, so if you shade above, it's going to look like this if you shade in above. Okay, so that means it can't be A. We already said it can't be C. It has to be either B or D. Okay, it's got to be one or the other, B or D. We just have to graph it and figure out which one it is. Is the vertex above the x-axis or is it below the x-axis? It's basically what we're trying to figure out. And so we're just going to graph it real quick. So go to y equals, clear all that out. Y equals, type in what we got. Negative x squared plus x plus 6. Let's see where that, the vertex is above the x-axis. So that means it has to be C, or B, excuse me. Has to be B. Okay? We're shading above A. It's shading in the correct way, and it's also below the x-axis. C, it's shaded correctly, but it was a solid line rather than a dotted line. Okay? Remember, for it to be a solid line, it would be greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to. Okay? 23. Try this again. Choose the inequality which shows the graph shown below. All right, here we go. First off, we have solid line. So that tells me it's got to be or equal to. So it could be A, it can't be B. It might be C, it can't be D. Again, because they do not have the line on their inequality. Okay? It's also shaded up. It was shaded up. So that tells me it has to be greater than. Well, A is not greater than, so the question's answer has to be C, because it is greater than. Okay? It also says x plus 2, which means it moves left 2. So there's your vertex, if you want to think of it like that as well. But that's all there is to it. You can always graph all your answers and see which one looks like that as well. 24, solve this inequality. Okay, this is, remember the little jingle. Less than is an and. Okay, greater than is an or. Okay, less than and greater than or, less than and greater than or. So before we make up our two equations, I can figure out what this is. I can get it half 50-50 chance just by solving it. Okay, so we got to get the absolute value by itself first. So first thing we're going to do is move the 1 over. So we're going to have absolute value of 2 minus 3x is less than 10. So if it's less than, it's got to be an and. So it can't be A and it can't be C because they are ors. Okay? All right, and now we work our problem. So to work the problem, we make 2. We're going to have 2 minus 3x is less than 10, and we're going to have 2 minus 3x is greater than negative 10. And we're going to work both of them out. So we're going to subtract 2, we're going to get negative 3x is less than 8, divide by negative 3. When you divide by a negative, your inequality flips over. So x is greater than negative 8 over 3. And I can really stop right now. I know it's got to be B. Okay? Just to show you, I'll solve this one as well, but I would not do this on the test because, again, time is precious. All right, we divided by a negative again, so this is going to flip over. Negative 12 divided by negative 3 is 4. Okay? So, had to be B. 25, without graphing, describe the end behavior. I've told you can graph them. It's going to be hard to stop you since you have your calculators. But just know you can do it quicker if you don't graph. Remember, it's an odd degree. That means it's going to be going up and down both. Okay? And since it's a positive 3 in front, that means it's going to be going from left to right. It's going to be going up. Okay? So as x approaches negative infinity, y is approaching positive infinity. And as x approaches negative, or did I just say negative? I'm sorry. This was positive infinity. Let me start over. As x approaches positive infinity, y also approaches positive infinity. As x approaches negative infinity, y also approaches negative infinity. So they should match up. So A does not match up because this one has them both going to positive infinity. This one has them doing opposite. All right, so 25, they need to match up. So here we go. D would be my answer. As x approaches infinity, f of x approaches infinity. And as x approaches negative infinity, f of x approaches negative infinity. So, moving on. All right, 26. Doing the same thing. Just talking about the end behavior again. Since it's odd, I know that it's going to be going up and down. Okay. And since this is a positive number, it's going to be doing something like that. Okay. There is other stuff in the middle, but I don't care about the middle. I only worry about the ends. Okay. If this 2 is negative, it would be going down, okay? If this exponent was even, both of them would be going the same direction, either up or down. Up would be positive number in front of it, down would be a negative number in front of it, okay? So, since this one is positive in front of the odd function, it's going to be the same answer that I got for number 25. So as x approaches infinity, g of x approaches infinity, and as x, here's x approaching infinity, g of x approaches infinity. As x approaches negative infinity, g of x approaches negative infinity. Okay. 27. Whoa. There we go. 27. Which statement is true for this graph? You just have to graph it and find the relative maximum and relative minimum. So you're going to go to your calculator and you're going to get y equals, and you're going to graph this big long equation. Negative 2x to the third. Oops. Third, plus 6x squared plus 18x minus 18. And if I'm talking a little lower, it's because they're taking the ACT next door, and apparently I was talking too loud. So, sorry. Hopefully you can hear me. If not, you can at least see how I'm doing it. Okay? So, you're going to hit graph. I know my minimum is somewhere down here, and I know my maximum is somewhere up here. So, I'm going to hit second and trace and go to minimum first because it was the first one over here on the left. And I'm going to move my cursor until I can see it. There it is. I move it to the left of my point and I hit enter, and then I scroll over and move it to the right. There it is again, and hit enter and enter. So there's my minimum, -1, -28. And then I do the same thing for my maximum, second trace, number 4, left bound, so I'm going left of the maximum over here. So enter, and then go right of the maximum, go back, there we go, enter, enter. So the maximum is 336. So 336 is the maximum, -1, -28 is the minimum. So my answer is A. Okay, all there is to that one. 28 says find the vertical, horizontal, and slant asymptotes, if any, for f of x equals 2x cubed minus x squared minus 11x minus 13 over x squared minus 2x minus 3. So I'll get the vertical asymptotes first because they're the easiest. So x and x, you just factor the bottom here. That will factor the -3 and +1. So x equals 3 and x equals -1 are my vertical asymptotes. So B cannot be an answer. D cannot be an answer. C has to be my answer. Okay? And we didn't even have to do the slant asymptote. If you do have to do the slant asymptote, you're going to divide. You're going to do long division. So we're going to say x squared minus 2x minus 3 goes into 2x cubed minus x squared minus 11x minus 13. What times x squared gives you 2x cubed would be 2x. And then you do distribute, which
do the opposite down here. So negative 2x cubed, negative 4x squared would make positive 4x squared. Because again, you do the opposite. Negative 6x, but again, you do the opposite, so you do plus 6x. Add them up, you get 3x squared minus 5x. Bring down your negative 13. X squared times what gives you 3x squared? That would be positive 3. So, same answer. We got our answer there. Okay. 29 and 30 and 31 too, I believe. Yeah, 31, 29, 30, and 31 are your variation problems. Okay. So these are pretty quick. 29 says if y varies directly as x, that means y equals kx. And y is 15 over 2 when x is 5. Find y when x equals 3. So we're just going to plug in our numbers here. So 15 over 2 equals k times 5. X is 5. And we'll divide by 5. So that'll be 15 over 10 is k, which reduces to 3 over 2. So my k is 3 over 2. So really, I can stop right now. I know my answer is going to be C. You can go ahead and plug it in if you want to. Y equals k, 3 over 2 times x, which is 3. That does equal 9 over 2, which is what we got. This time on 30, y varies inversely as x. So my equation is going to be y equals k divided by x. Okay. And we plug in 3/4 equals k over 4. Cross multiply. So multiply both sides by 4 basically. Those cancel. K is 3. So let's see if we need to keep going. We do not. There's my answer right there. We just plug in 3. Okay. Okay. And it says to find it when x is 3. So if you did 3 divided by 3, you would get what? 31. We are varying directly as x and z. So this time we're doing y equals k, x, and z. And then we plug in 112 over 3 equals k times x is 4 and z is 4. So 4 and 4, 4 times 4 would be 16, and divide by 16. Those cancel. I don't know what that is, so I'm going to put that in my calculator. 112 divided by 3 divided by 16 is 7/3. So let's see if we need to. Nope, we do not need to keep going. There's only one answer. 7/3. It's right there. Y equals 7/3. Again, all we're doing is taking it and plugging it in for k. Alright. 32. 32, you can answer with your calculator. You will have to plug in. It says determine whose roots are 6, 5, and -2. Well, all that means is we're going to graph these and see which one crosses the x-axis at 6, -5, and -2. So I'm going to go to my calculator and I'm going to graph all of these until I figure out the answer. So the first one is x cubed. X cubed minus, oops, delete that, okay, minus x squared plus 32x plus 60, and graph, and it is not crossing at 6, -5, and -2, so that one's not it. Go to the next one. The next one is x cubed plus x squared and then minus 32x, and then minus 60. And then we're going to graph. And looks to me like this one crosses at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oops. 6. It's crossing at 6. It's crossing at -2. And it's crossing at -5. So B is our answer. And that's all there is to it. Just remember, roots just means x-intercepts. Where is it crossing the x-axis? Okay. To find the discriminant is the part of the Pythagorean, or not Pythagorean form, excuse me, the quadratic formula. It is b squared minus 4ac. And so this is your A, this is your B, here's your C. You just got to make it, be sure it's equal to 0 before you plug them in. It is equal to 0, so we're going to do -3 squared minus 4 times 4 times 2. And that will be, let's see here, -3 squared minus 4 times 2, -23. So, B, okay? They want you to pick this one, but remember the discriminant does not include the square root, okay? It doesn't include the square root. 34 says use the remainder theorem to find out which of the following is not a factor of the polynomial, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to graph it again, okay? Remember, we're finding the one that's not a factor. So we're going to graph this on our calculator. That equals, and we're going to change that to x cubed minus 4x squared plus x plus 6. We're going to graph it. Okay, so here are my roots. So x equals -1, this one x equals 2, and this one x equals 3. Those are the roots, so the factors are opposite that. X plus 1 is a factor, x minus 2 is a factor, and x minus 3 is a factor. So let's go and figure out which one is not the answer here. So x plus 1, that is a factor. X minus 2 is a factor, and x minus 3 is a factor. So C, x plus 2 is not a factor. Okay, that's how you do that. 35, find the number of possible positive real zeros of the function. Remember, these are the ones where all you have to do is count how many times the sign changes. So this is a +2 and a -14 and a -36. So the sign changed once. That's all you have to do. Okay. 36. You have a little work to actually show here. 36. So we're going to erase 37 real quick. And all you're going to do is cross multiply and set them equal. So you're going to say x plus 6 times x plus 5 equals x minus 1 times x minus 7. And we'll distribute, get x squared plus 5x plus 6x plus 30 equals x times x is x squared minus 7x minus x plus 7. The x squared will cancel, okay? And we're left with 11x plus 30 equals 6x plus 7. Subtract the 6x over. We get 5x. Subtract the 30 over. We get, would that be -23 divided by 5? So negative 23 over 5. It's not a choice, so what did I do wrong? Let's see here. Oh, I did this wrong. This was minus 7x and minus x, so that's negative 8x, excuse me. So I should have been adding 8 here. Sorry about that. So 11x plus 8x is 19x. So let me erase this. Even your teacher makes mistakes. 19x equals negative 23. Divide by 19, divide by 19, not negative 19, but positive 19. And so now, that's still not, oh, there it is. Yeah, it is. Okay. I messed up again. Okay. So D, negative 23 over 19 for 36. All right, 37, decomposing into partial fractions. This is the one where you got to figure out what goes on top. So they've already got a factor for you. So negative 4x over x minus 5 times x minus 3 is going to equal a over x minus 5 plus b over x minus 3. You're going to multiply everything by the denominators. X minus 5 times x minus 3, x minus 5 times x minus 3, x minus 5 times x minus 3. And what that does is everything cancels over here. So you're left with negative 4x equals here. The x minus 5's cancel. You're left with x times x minus 3. Plus here, the x minus 3's cancel, and you're left with b times x minus 5. Okay? Then you have to solve for a and b. So we're going to do two problems. To get rid of a, we're going to to get rid of b, we're going to let x equals 5. So negative 4 times 5 equals a times 5 minus 3. So that's negative 20 equals 2a. Divide by 2. Negative 10 is a. So I can stop right now and realize there's going to be my answer right there. Negative 10 goes over the x minus 5. Okay. I'll keep going just to show you. A, to get rid of a, I'm going to let x be 3. So negative 4 times 3 equals b times 3 minus 5. That would be negative 12 equals negative 2b. Divide by negative 2. B is 6. Again, answer is still C. Okay. Winding down, 38. Again, I have a note to show on this one. So, I'm just going to square both sides here. Okay, so that'll be x plus 14 equals x plus 8 times x plus 8. You can do the shortcut if you want to. I'm not. I'm going to do the long way. So that'll be x squared plus 8x plus 8x plus 64. So I'm going to get it equal to 0, so I'm going to move these two over. Okay, so I have 0 equals minus x minus 14. So this will be x squared. Understand I'm adding all of these up. So 16x minus x would be 15x. And 64 minus 14 is positive 50. And so we got to factor that and figure out that would be what? Factor what two numbers multiply to be 50 and add up to 15. That would be 5 and 10. And so my answers are x equals negative 5 and x equals negative 10. However, remember, on problems like these, you got to plug them in and make sure they both work, because we have a square root right here, and you can't take the square root of a negative. So if I plug something in and I get a negative, it might not be correct. So let's try it. If I did square root of negative 5 plus 14, is that going to equal negative 5 plus 8? Let's see here. That would be square root of 9, which does equal 3. So that one checks. Alright, so negative 5 is definitely an answer. Let's try negative 10. Square root of negative 10 plus 14 equals negative 10 plus 8. That would be square root of 4 equals negative 2. The square root of 4 is 2, and it does not equal negative 2. So 10 doesn't work. The answer is just B. Okay, for 38. B, which is negative 5. Alright, 39. Smallville's town council has records for the town's budget over a 10-year period. Which model relates the budget as a function of the number of years since 1900? What does the model predict the town's budget will be in the year 2001? And what year does the model predict the town's budget will exceed 400,000? So we can kind of do this by process of elimination. This is just another one of those problems where we're going to go to our calculator and put it into stat. Okay, so stat, edit, L1 is all the years. Now, don't be putting the year itself. It said X is the number of years since 1900. Okay, so 1990 is 90 years since 1900. 91 is 91 years. 1992 would be 92 years. 1993 would be 93 years from 1900. 94, 95, and you see the pattern. 96, 97, 98, and 99. Okay. Over here, for my L2, figure that out. We have 265.1. Again, take your time plugging them in. 277.5. 288.9. 303.0. 311.3. 320.4. 334.5. 351.2. Oops. 368.2. And 381.7. And then we go to stat, calc, linreg number 4, and we scroll down to calculate and hit enter. So there's our equation. Y equals 12.72x minus b 882.2. And my R is 0.9959, which makes it a very, very reliable equation. So let's see what we have to choose from. So here's my answer, 12.72. So this is not correct. This is not correct. This possibly could be, it's got to be C or B. So, it's got to be D. Excuse me, I said C or B. It has to be C or D. So here's my 12.72, and there's my negative 82.2. So this one does not have the negative A, so it's got to be D. Bada boom, bada bing. Okay. That is all of chapter 1 through 4. Chapter number 40, the last 11 problems are all from chapter 5. So this is our trig stuff. Okay. Remember you can use your calculator on this. So all these easy questions, make sure you use your calculator. For example, number 40, to change that to degrees, minutes, and seconds, we're going to go to our calculator and type in that decimal that they just gave us, 345.63. And we're going to go to our angle, second angle, and go to degrees, minutes, seconds, and hit enter. There you go. 345 degrees, 37 minutes, and 48 seconds, which is B. Okay? B. Ta-da. So, 41, write the measure as a decimal to the nearest thousandth. Calculator will do that as well. So we're going to go to our calculator. We're going to type in that angle just like it was, 23 degrees to get to degrees. Second angle, which is apps. The degree sign is the very first one. 20 minutes, again, second apps. The minute sign is one down. And then 38 minutes. The minute sign is alpha plus. And then just hit enter, and it will give it to you as a decimal. And you just have to round that to the nearest thousand. So that'd be 23.344, which is B as well, 23.334. 42 says give the angle measure represented by each rotation. This one is 8 rotations clockwise. So you have to remember, clockwise means you multiply by negative 360. Counter clockwise, okay, you multiply by positive 360, okay? So just knowing that, well, should help, okay? So 8 rotations, so you just do 8 times negative 360, okay? Negative 360, I got negative 2,880, okay? 43, find the least positive angle measurement that is coterminal with the given angle, negative 270. So all of these are positive. So to get a coterminal angle, you either add or subtract 360. In this case, we're going to add 360, and that will give us 90. So that one is B. Okay. It takes us to 43. 44. We have to find the 6 trigonometric ratios. Okay. So we got to figure out our side that's missing here. It's a leg. So to get that leg, we're going to say the square root of the hypotenuse squared minus the leg squared. Okay. So 15 squared minus 12 squared is 81. And the square root of 81 is 9. So this is 9. Man, that was nice. I gave y'all some easy ones. Okay. So we're doing all this for A. So the sine of A, so total. Okay, let me just erase this. So total. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So that would be 12 over 15, which reduces to 4 over 5. So I can go through here, process of elimination. It can't be A, because that's not 4 over 5. It could be B. It can't be C. Okay, so we're down to B or D. Okay? Their sines are the same, their cosines are the same. The tangent, however, this one is 3/4, this one is 4/3. So let's go straight to tangent. Tangent opposite over adjacent. So opposite would be 12 over adjacent is 9. That is 4 over 3, which would be B. No, not B. Excuse me. D. D is 4 over 3. Okay? And so it had to be D. Can't be B. 45. Find tangent of theta if theta is an angle in standard position where the point with coordinates 4, 3 lies on the terminal side of the angle. So this is x, this is y. If you remember, sine, cosine, tangent, and remember we got u rock. Excellent rock. U excellent. Okay, so tangent uses y over x. So y over x is just 3 over 4 here. So A has to be my answer. Okay. Same process here, only this time we're finding what? The sine. Okay, sine is y over r. So we actually have to find r on this one because we need it. We didn't need it on 45, so we didn't worry about finding r. But on 46, we need r. So r is the square root of x squared plus y squared. Okay, so r is going to be the square root of 3 squared plus negative 4 squared, which is 5. So we're going to, here's x, here's y again. So sine is y over r. So y is negative 4, r is 5. So negative 4 over 5 is also a. Okay. And then the last page, we made it. Yes. Last page. Well, last 2 pages, I should say. Excuse me. Here we're finding little f. They give us angle F is 60 degrees, 8 minutes. G is 7, and we need to find side F. So that's opposite and hypotenuse. That's sine. Sine is opposite and hypotenuse. So sine of 60 degrees, 8 minutes equals F over 7. We're just going to multiply both sides by 7 and stick that in our calculator. Make sure your calculator is in degree mode when you take your test. Okay? If it's not in degree mode, you will get problems like this incorrect. 7 sine of 60 degrees, 8 minutes. Just stick it in my calculator, and I get 6.07. So 6.1 is A. Okay? So for 48, says the cosine is negative 1/2. So I'm going to figure out x is the inverse cosine of negative 1/2. So I'm going to figure out what that is. I'll go to my calculator real quick. The inverse cosine of negative 1 over 2. And I get 120. So I know one answer is 120. So I can get rid of C, I can get rid of D, and I can get rid of A. It's got to be B. Okay, now they're getting the 240 because what's happening is all star trig clash. Remember, this shows where your angles are positive. So if you notice, my cosine was negative. So I knew my answer had to be in quadrant 2 and quadrant 3. Okay, so 120 is a 60-degree reference angle. So I had to figure out what is a 60-degree reference angle in quadrant 3. And if you just do 180 plus 60, you get 240, which is where that one comes from. But thankfully, since it's multiple choice, you didn't have to know that one. You just can get to use the one that the calculator gave you. 49, we're finding R. We're finding angle R. They give us little t is 29.6, and S is 16. That is the adjacent and the hypotenuse. So cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. That uses the adjacent and hypotenuse side. So cosine of R equals adjacent 16 over hypotenuse 29.6. And so R is the inverse cosine of 16 over 29.6. So inverse cosine, second cosine of 16 divided by 29.6, and get 57.27. So my answer is 52 point something wrong. Did I mess up again? How did I mess up? On R. So here's R. R is adjacent. Oh, yeah, S is adjacent. T is the hypotenuse. That is, okay, so I gotta be doing something else. What am I doing now? I'm looking. I wonder. No? Oh, I'm not anything. 57. I think I said 52 point. It's 57.3. Okay, so we're good. I just didn't say the answer. I'm sorry. 57.3 is right there. D. It's 57.28 or something. So it's 57.3. Okay. 50 says in a right triangle ABC, angle 28. A is 28 degrees. Angle B is, or not angle B, side B is 7, and angle C is the right angle. We have to solve the triangle. So I'm going to draw us a triangle right here. Again, when you're like drawing your own triangle, you know C is the right angle. So that's little c. It does not matter where you put angle A and angle B. Okay? I know this is 28 degrees. I know side B is 7. And we got to find all the other stuff. Okay? So if you notice, they take the easiest thing to find, which is angle B right here. You know it's got to be 62 degrees, but all of them have that. So they do that. They make that easy for you. But if you notice, all of their A's are different. So let's find A first. If I'm going to find A, I'm going to do opposite over adjacent. That's tangent, TOA. Okay, so tangent of 28 degrees equals opposite would be A over adjacent is 7. So I'm just going to do 7 times the tangent of 28. 7 tangent of 28. And we get 3.72. So my answer is 3.72, which means D has to be my answer. 3.7. Okay. Last three. 51. Given a triangle with A equals 4, angle A is 33 degrees and angle B is 24 degrees. What is the length of C? Round to the nearest 10. Okay, so I do not know this is a right triangle, so they gave me the lowercase and uppercase A. So that means I'm going to be using the law of sines, but to find little c, I need to know angle C. So the first thing I'm going to find is angle C. Okay, angle C would be 180 minus 24 minus 33. So 180 minus 24 minus 33 is 123. And that's angle C. So now I can do little c over sine of 123 equals little a, which we already know is 4, over the sine of angle A, which is 33. And we basically just move this over here and put it in our calculator. So I'm going to go to my calculator, and we're going to type in, let's see here, 4 sine of 123. Very important that you make sure you close your parentheses, divided by sine of 33. And we get 6.159, blah, blah, blah. So that rounds 6.159 would round to 6.2, which is D. Okay. 52, given a triangle B equals 5, C equals 9, and A equals 122, what is the length of A? Round your answer to the nearest 10. This time, I don't have the lowercase and uppercase of the same letter. So I can't use law of sines. I'm going to have to do law of cosines. Okay? And thankfully, they asked what is A, and they gave me A. So here's the one I'm using. Okay? A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine of A. Remember, cosine law of cosines is the only one that uses cosine. So a squared is going to be b, it's 5 squared, plus c is 9 squared, minus 2 times 5 times 9 times the cosine of a, which is 122 degrees. Okay? And I am going to put that in my calculator and take the square root of it, because I want the square root of all that to get a, because a is being squared. So if you take the square root of a, take the square root of a squared, take the square root of all of that, and we're just going to put all of that in my calculator all at once. So let me clear all this so I can see. So we're going to have the square root of 5 squared plus 9 squared minus 2 times 5 times 9 times the cosine of 122. And hit it 12.397. So 12.397 would round to 12.4. There is your answer. And last but not least, last problem with finding the area, they give you all 3 sides. So you're going to have to use Hero's formula. So we're going to have to find S first. S is 1/2 the perimeter. Okay? So S will be 1/2 times 10 plus 22 plus 14. Where did my 22 come from? Okay, there. So 1/2 of all that. So that would be, let's see here, 10 plus 22 plus 14 is 46, and half of 46 is 23. So S is 23. And then your area, K, would be the square root of 23 times 23 minus A, which was 10, times 23 minus B, which is 22, times 23 minus C, which is 14. And I'm just going to stick all that in my calculator again. So clear that, we'll have square root of 23 times 23 minus 10 times 23 minus 22 times 23 minus 14. Enter. 51.87. Yay, 51.87 would round to 51.9. Hey. All right. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope it helps. Y'all study hard. Remember, multiple choice. Get to use your calculator. You're going to rock this. Good luck. See you next time, and stay above the line.